Just say the name, Woodstock. It's iconic, right? It conjures up all these images of flower crowns, absolutely legendary music, and, a whole generation fighting its voice. But the story we all think we know, well, that's really only half of it. Yeah, we've all seen the pictures. The story is practically baked into our cultural DNA. 3 days of peace, love, and music. A moment where 500,000 people proved that community could actually work. It's remembered as this beautiful peak of the 1960s counterculture. But what if I told you that legend is built on a foundation of pure chaos? What if, behind the scenes, Woodstock wasn't some grand, triumphant success, but actually a series of catastrophic failures that brought it right to the edge of total collapse? That's the real story we're going to get into. To really get how this near disaster became a legend, we have to go back to the beginning. And believe it or not, it didn't start with some hippie's dream of a better world. It started with a business ad in a newspaper. So say hello to Woodstock Ventures. It was just 4 young guys, none of them are even over 27. You had 2 venture capitalists with apparently unlimited capital, nice work if you can get it, and 2 music industry guys with an idea. And that idea? To build a super high-end recording studio for artists like Bob Dylan up in Woodstock, New York. The festival itself was just a way to raise the money. Let's be really clear here. This was not about creating a cultural movement. It was a for-profit business. Plain and simple. The plan was pretty straightforward. Sell tickets for $18 a pop, make a killing on concessions, and use the profits to build that dream studio. They were businessmen, not revolutionaries. And how many people did they expect to show up to their little fundraiser? 50,000. That was the magic number. Not 500,000, 50,000. Now I want you to burn that number into your brain, because it is the absolute key to the entire disaster that's about to unfold. Okay, so you've got the business plan. Now let's watch as it completely and utterly unravels into just pure, unadulterated chaos. This is where the nightmare really begins. Just look at this timeline for a second. It's insane. Only 5 weeks before showtime, their original location in Wallkill, New York, basically kicks them out, banning the event. So in a total panic, they find a dairy farmer named Max Yasgur who agrees to let them use his field. This leaves them with less than a month, to build what was essentially a small city from the ground up. They were completely backed into a corner. Time is running out, and they have to make this absolutely impossible choice. Do we finish the fences and the ticket booths so we can, control the crowd and actually make money? Or do we finish the stage so the artists have somewhere to play? They chose the stage. And then the people came, and they just kept coming. Not the 50,000 they planned for, not 100,000. By Friday, the highways were parking lots for miles around, and an estimated 500,000 people had descended on this one poor dairy farm, most of them just walking right through the unfinished fences. You can just imagine the panic. The organizers have this frantic meeting. They know if they try to start checking tickets with a crowd this massive and basically no security, they're going to have a full-blown riot on their hands. So, in a moment of total surrender, they get on stage and make the announcement that seals their financial doom. It was now a free concert. And just like that, their business plan was totally obliterated. They were suddenly $1.3 million in debt. Now, in today's money, that's about $10 million, a complete and utter financial catastrophe. But the problems went so far beyond money. The entire infrastructure just collapsed. The food vendors ran out of food almost instantly. When they tried to triple their prices, the crowd literally burned one of their stands to the ground. It got so bad, the governor of New York had to declare the site a disaster area. The only thing that stopped mass starvation was flying in a hippie commune called the Hog Farm to set up a free kitchen. So picture this. You've got no food, no bathrooms, torrential rain is turning the whole field into a giant mud pit, and you've got a population the size of Minneapolis just there. What stopped it from turning into total anarchy? Well, it was the music. It was the one thing that held the whole fragile mess together. So the festival is supposed to open with a band called Sweetwater. But guess what? They're stuck in that same miles-long traffic jam, along with pretty much every other musician. So the organizers, desperate, grab the only guy they can find backstage, Richie Havens, and basically shove him onto the stage. He was supposed to play for 30 minutes. He ended up playing for almost 3 hours. After playing every single song he knew, some of them twice, Havens had nothing left. He was completely out of material. So in this moment of pure, spontaneous inspiration, he just starts strumming a chord
and chanting one word: freedom. It became the defining anthem of the entire festival, a legendary song literally born out of a traffic jam.
And that kind of magic, born from chaos, just kept happening all weekend. A band nobody had really heard of called Santana delivered a performance that made their career. At 3 in the morning in a total downpour, Sly and the Family Stone got 500,000 cold, muddy people up and dancing. The Who played through the night while rain was hitting the stage, genuinely afraid they were going to be electrocuted. The chaos didn't stop the music. In a weird way, it fueled. So let's recap. We have a financial disaster, a logistical nightmare, and a humanitarian crisis. How on earth did this become one of the most beloved and iconic events of the 20th century? I mean, that's the central question here, isn't it? If by every objective, logical measure, Woodstock was a spectacular failure, why is its legacy one of peace, love, and triumph? And the answer, amazingly, is right here. The true miracle of Woodstock wasn't what happened on the stage, it was what happened in the audience. For 3 days, you had 500,000 cold, hungry, wet people crammed together with no police, no rules, and no real infrastructure. And yet, there was almost no violence. People shared what little food and water they had. They took care of each other. The system failed them completely, but the people didn't fail each other. And let's not forget the business side of it. I mean, just look at this. The expenses were through the roof, but with nobody paying for tickets, the revenue was practically zero. The organizers were left completely broke, buried in lawsuits. But they had made one brilliant decision in the middle of all that chaos. One Hail Mary pass that would change everything. They hired a film crew, which included a young editor you might have heard of, named Martin Scorsese, to document the entire weekend. That documentary, released in 1970, and its soundtrack album were massive global hits. And that is what finally allowed the organizers to pay off their enormous debts and, eventually, even turn a profit. But more than that, Woodstock basically created the modern festival industry. It pushed live sound technology forward, and it showed the world that the counterculture was a massive, powerful force. Which really leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. Was the failure of Woodstock actually the secret to its success? The fact that the fences came down, the food ran out, and the skies opened up, it forced everyone into this shared struggle. It stripped away all the commercialism and created a genuine community. Could that spirit of Woodstock ever have happened at a perfectly organized, comfortable, corporate-run event? Maybe the miracle only happened because it was born from the mud.